welcome once again to Chat with Hey. I am glad you've made time tonight as well to join this wonderful discussion that we started last 2 weeks. As many of you will know, this space is to reflect and talk honestly about life. I share lessons from my own journey, the things I have learned early, the things I learned late, and the things that are still unfolding along the way in my life. As I said earlier, each session will give us an opportunity to share practical and reflective life stories. My hope is that we'll end our discussion with a very reflective note on how we gather insights and have a clear path as we move forward to liberate ourselves financially and to step forward in a manner that is designed for us to dwell in prosperity and to advance in all that we do in our life. Friends, thank you very much for being part of this growing conversation. I will urge you as you watch to join us on the WhatsApp channel at Chat with A. And then also you can follow us on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook at Chat with Hey. As regards today's topic, it is an interesting topic. Today's topic is a great question that all of us must approach with a lot of reflection. The topic is you can achieve financial control. You can achieve financial control. Anytime we speak about financial control, the immediate thing that can cross your mind is whether we are talking about getting rich, being a trillionaire or a billionaire, or making a lot of money. That is not the point. The point about financial control is your ability to maintain a strong hold on what the available resource that you have to ensure stability and to ensure progress in your life, to have some decency in your life, and to keep strong and strict control and a stable life in your finances. That is what we talk about when we talk about financial control. Financial control, like I've said already, is not necessarily about making so much money. It is about how you manage what you have and how you allow or you steward the resources that the Lord has given to you in a manner that gives you decency, in a manner that gives you stability, in a manner that takes you to a path of direction. I can assure you, by the end of today's discussion, I can promise you that if you live by the principles that we are going to discuss, you are more likely to be able to keep control over your finances. We'll look at three pillars or three principles that are going to guide our discussions about how to keep or how to maintain financial control, especially your personal financial management. We are going to use the principle of ADD, ADD, the principle of ADD. Put it down, take a note and jot it down. The principle of ADD, ADD, is what I'm going to recommend to you. It is what I have used over my lifetime since I've had the opportunity to earn an income. That has been the principle that I've applied in managing my personal resources. So the principle of ADD. The first A is awareness. The first A is awareness. Awareness is you being clear about your resources, being clear and facing the reality of your financial state, how much you earn, the kind of expenses that you are confronted with, those that are your needs and those are your wants, and then also identifying financial leakages in your financial management. Those fall within what I call awareness. So that is the first A. The second point, which is a D. D is discipline. D is discipline. Discipline in building systems, in building things that would help you maintain stronghold on your personal finances. When we talk about discipline, what we mean is that to be able to maintain a strong financial hold, you must have or create a personal design that allows you to identify how much you earn, identify your critical expenses, design a system that matches your income to your expenditure, and maintain a disciplined life that allows you to spend within or below your means, and to create room for investment and savings to be able to make a strong path or a strong move forward. So that is the first D, discipline. The second D is what we call direction. You must maintain direction in your personal financial management. For you to be able to keep a strong financial control in your personal finances, you must have direction. What do we mean by direction? Direction is being able to determine the short and long-term goals, financial goals that you create for yourself. Someone's own might be saving enough to get married. Another person's financial goal, short-term, maybe to buy a car. Long-term goal, maybe to buy a house or to build a house. You must by all means have short and long-term goal. Those goals are going to now drive how you are going to manage or spend your resources. So we go back to the A. A, we've indicated that it is awareness. What do we mean by awareness? Awareness is facing the reality of your financial position. You must know where you are. Forget about the dreams for the moment. Look at what you earn. How much do you earn? And how many places do you earn income from? It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3. The critical point is facing the reality of your financial capacity, how much you earn. Don't be bothered about the quantum that you earn. The most important thing in financial control is knowing how much you earn. Once you have been able to identify how much you earn, write it down. The next thing to do is to identify your critical expenditure. And here, friends, I would urge you all to sit down and distinguish between what your needs are and what your wants are. Your needs are the things that whether you have money or not, you will still have to spend money on. If you are a married man and you have kids, you have to feed them. You have to provide a place for them to lay their heads. You have to provide utility, pay for the utilities. If you're a student, you have to keep body and soul together. You have to eat, buy your school materials. If you're a bachelor, you still have to eat, find a place to sleep, and live your life. Those usually form the critical, what we call your expenses, your critical expenses. Then the wants. The wants now become the things that if you don't have money, you can do without. Buying a new phone, buying a new car, spending money on things that do not determine whether you can make ends meet or not. You should be able to distinguish between your expenses and your needs. And brethren, I would urge you to actually do that. Being able to keep a strong hold on your finances requires that you become deliberate about how you manage your finances, including identify your needs and identify your wants. After you have done that, the next point is that you should be able to identify any financial leakage in your personal financial management. You should know the things that easily take away money from you without contributing to your financial progress. These things, you have to be deliberate about them. Maybe the craving that usually cause you to spend money on some things that you can actually do without. Identify those leakages. Maybe it is somebody that keeps on requesting finances from you without they themselves making an effort to be on their feet. Identify all those leakages and note them down. The reason why noting them down is important is that you must build a system that keeps a strong hold on your financial controls. Now, we have faced the reality. We are aware of our financial position. We know how much we earn. We know our expenses. We know our wants. We've also been able to identify the leakages that take away critical part of our funding, and that doesn't help us to meet our goal. Having identified and having come to the state of awareness about our finances, let's move to the next point or the next principle, which is the first D. The first D is being disciplined. When we say be disciplined, one of the first key points you must be disciplined about in maintaining strong financial control is to be able to create and stick to a realistic budget. If I may ask, how many of us have or live on a budget? How many of us have made an attempt before to draft a budget and say that, okay, this is how much I earn and this is what I'm going to spend my money on during the month or during the period that I earn the income? How many of us have budgets? Sometimes when we talk about budget, it appears that we are talking about some theoretical things that are not really practical to human life. I can tell you, I have had a very strict budget life in my life, and I can say without any form of doubt that it has been very helpful to me, because it is also what keeps you disciplined and that keeps you in line. I remember many years ago when I got married, we had a very small income, and my wife would always talk about the desire to earn more income because we are so strict about what we spend money on. And I always told her that it is important to keep yourself away from borrowing money from people than to spend money anyhow. And I also used to tell her that it is also critical because life, as I've said the last time, life happens in seasons. Today you may have little, tomorrow you may have more. That is the reality of life. And so it is always important that when you have little, you come up with a mechanism that helps you to cope with the situation you find yourself without losing your dignity. And one tool that has always been very helpful to me, which I use up to today, is developing or drafting a budget and sticking to the budget. When we say a budget, what do we mean? A budget is just deciding that as a man or woman, you are writing down the amount of money that you earn, whether from your job or your side hustle, whatever it is that you earn, including donations or gifts from your parents or from your loved ones, wherever they are, the amount of money you get from them, writing it down. And then being deliberate about what you spend the money on: your food, your utilities, school fees, rent, and all the critical needs that you have, writing them down. When you are writing your expenses in your budget, I will urge you to start with your needs and follow with your wants. Make sure that your income has covered all your needs first before you make room for your wants. Don't mix them together. Most of the time we mix them because we haven't put together a budget. We end up spending the limited resources we have on our wants, and then when our needs show up, we don't have money. So what do? We keep begging people, or we take loan from people, and then we plunge ourselves into a cycle of taking loans because we are not cutting our coat according to size. In public financial management, we call it fiscal consolidation, trying as much as possible to rein in expenses so that it fits within the budgets or the resources that you have available. So one thing I'll urge you to do: develop a budget. If you haven't started, start today. Take a moment, write your income, write your expenses. Start your expenses with your needs and end with your wants. So you start your needs, allocate resources to your needs for the month, and then when you have room based on the income you earn, the rest of the money available, you allocate some to your wants. Your wants, I've already defined what your wants should be. The next point about being disciplined and building systems and being intentional about the system is for you to automate savings or to come up with savings. Savings is very important. Friends, when I was in a university, I had a very humble beginning. So I had a lot of financial needs, and people paid my school fees. My father, who was taking care of me, had died long time ago, and my mom couldn't afford. So it was my church, that's church members who helped to pay my school fees. But I came up with a strategy, because before I went to the university, I taught as a pupil teacher for 1 year, trying to raise money to pay my school fees at the university. So what did I do? I cultivated the habit of savings. Savings became a part of me. Sometimes I eat the little that I can eat. I remember there were moments in the university where I take porridge in the morning and I take porridge in the evening. Not that I didn't have money to eat per se, but I was saving. I was saving what money? Money is that members or loved ones, after paying my school fees, I go to church, they say, oh, hey, for take this. Somebody say, oh, hey, for take this amount. I don't just go and spend it because I have money. I saved it. I saved it. I saved it. I saved all those money as much as I could. I saved a lot of money. And I lived in the simplest way possible. And well, some of my friends also helped me with food here and food there. But the important thing I'm driving home is that I cultivated the habit of savings right from an early age because of the realities of my life. I saved a lot. My mom used to tell us something when we were growing up. He said, hey, Ford, always remember where you come from and keep yourself out of trouble. And I always adopted that principle in everything that I do. I always look at where I come from to now strategize on what to do. So guess what? By the time I finish my school, the university, and I did my national service money, I never, after opening the bank account, I never went to the bank to withdraw money for my national service. I saved all of that. Because while I was working, they were giving us something small for transportation. Guess what? That's what I depended on. Sometimes I had to walk to cut short some of the distance so that I can save money. In the end, I was able to do two things at a very early stage in my career. Two things. One, I was able to use all my national service savings to register for CA, the Institute of Chartered Accountants exams. And then in 2 years, by God's grace, I was able to pass. Nobody could help me. I helped myself with my savings because I had a goal that I wanted to register for CA and pass and become a chartered accountant. I didn't go begging. I saved and I used that money to register. And then the second important thing that I was able to do at a very early age in my career, I bought my first car. Those who know the car, it's called Inshiraba. It was a Golf 2. I bought Golf 2 very early in my career. Not because I was earning a lot of money, but because I had saved for 4 years when I was in the university. The extra money that I got from people, I was saving it. And then the little that I get from people as I go along, I was saving it. By the time my career took off and I was able to earn a lot, I had done two major things that were important in my career. So saving is very important. Cultivate the habit of saving. Whether little or much, it is important to save. The other important thing that I want you to take note of in cultivating the habit of discipline is what I call living below or within your means. Friends, let us cultivate the habit of living below or within your means. I would strongly advocate that if you can, live below your means. What do I mean by living below your means? If you earn a salary and your salary can afford, let's say your salary is 100%, make sure that your expenses come up to about 80%. Never match your expenses to your income. Always leave a gap because it's going to be important. At least live on 70% of your income and create a buffer for yourself of the 30%. That is going to come handy. And I will urge you to cultivate that habit and keep up with it. It is an important lifestyle that you must have. And I'll urge that you keep strongly at it. Live below your means or within your means. A lot of people have the habit of living lavish lifestyle that their income cannot afford. Friends, sometimes we put ourselves in trouble and we end up in a cycle of debt. We allow peer pressure to influence what we do. If your needs can be catered for by your income, stick to that. Don't overexert yourself in some expenses that you can live without. It is discipline that helps you to live a decent life, not spending too much on things that you can avoid. I'll urge you to live on 70% of the income that you earn and keep 30%. And I'm going to tell you why it is important to live on 70 and keep 30%, because it's going to become critical in advancing in all that you do. The next point, which is the next D, that is going to conclude our AD principle in controlling your finances, is what I call direction. Direction. You must have direction. To be able to maintain a strong hold on your financial management, you must have direction. What do I mean by direction in your financial management? You must set short-term goals and long-term financial goals. Greatness can be achieved with clarity and purpose. Remember that life happens in stages. Today, whatever you have, tomorrow you would have more. You are likely to have more based on what you do with the little you have today. Have short-term goal and have long-term goal. Don't keep all your goals in short term. Don't keep all your goals in long term. Come up with a mindset that you must live today but make provision for tomorrow. When we talk about sustainability, it is defined as taking care of your needs today with the resources that you have, whilst making provision for the future generation. And so, I would urge you to also apply the same principle of financial sustainability. Meet your goals today, but always remember to make room for tomorrow. And be deliberate about it, as I've said earlier. If you have financial goals as a short-term goal, if you're a student, what are your short-term goals? Maybe is to engage or to take on a professional course or to add something more to what you are doing. Your resources should not limit the goals you set for yourself. But by all means, have a short-term goal and have a long-term goal. If you're a parent, your short-term goal could be the fees you pay for your children every term. But let me urge you as parents, look long-term. One of the things you are likely to find when you pick my phone that you can never miss it to be empty is when you go to the calculator on my phone. The moment you pick the calculator on my phone and you open that calculator, you will see that I have calculated something on that. And most of the time, what is interesting that you find on that calculator is calculating how much I will need to pay my children's school fees for the 4 years that they will finish at least their first year in the university. Most of the time, I calculate how much they will need to complete their university. That is usually my long-term goal. And so I have that long-term goal in mind. So as I sit here, I have a fair idea how much I will need to save or to work towards in taking care of the needs that are coming up, being school fees. So it helps you to be disciplined with the use of money. Because I know how much I will need to take care of fees in the future, I don't waste money. It also energizes me to work hard and to work more and to find more opportunities to earn money so that I can save those money separate towards those long-term goals. Then I have short-term goals. Short-term goals include taking care of the daily needs of my family, paying the school fees of my children at this present age where they are in their stage. And all these things, I've been able to classify them. And so, whilst I aim at satisfying my immediate needs, I also look at my long-term goal and contribute money gradually towards it. When we have time, another time, in another session, we are going to talk about retirement planning. But let me tell you something. As I sit here, I know how much I'll need by the time I'm going on retirement, and how long that amount of money is going to take care of me and the lifestyle I want for myself on my retirement, and for how long I think I'm going to live after. I know all of that. And so what I do is that as I sit now, I am contributing gradually towards my pension. Because in those few years when I get to my pension, my expectation is that I'm not going to rely on SNET. I have defined the lifestyle I want for myself when I go on pension. And I've defined how long that lifestyle is supposed to take. 20 years, 30 years. So that helps me to contribute gradually towards that. And my hope is that I will be able to contribute or to raise the resources that I'm supposed to raise to be able to meet those goals. The other point is that you must build an emergency fund. As we wrap up this section, we must build an emergency fund. Remember that I told you that leave 30% of your income. I would urge you, you need an emergency fund. The question I'll ask you is that if you are working today and you lose your job for 1 year or 2 years or even 6 months before you get another job, the question is, do you have some savings somewhere that can take you to pay your critical expenses for the next 3 months or 6 months before you get another job? Many people get into depression because by the first month ending, they run dry because they never saved or they never developed an emergency fund. An emergency fund is the money that you've put aside that can take care of at least 3 months of your critical expenses if you are not earning income. So what I'll urge you to do is that anytime you make money, create an emergency fund. Put away, calculate your critical needs. For instance, ask yourself, if you don't earn income, what are the key expenses that you still incur? Write those expenses down. Calculate how much you spend on those expenses every month and multiply it by 3. That amount becomes the amount you need to build your emergency fund. You can decide to multiply it by 6 if you want 6-month emergency fund. You can decide to multiply it by 12 if you want 1 year emergency fund. What you do is that you know the amount. Maybe the amount is 20,000. So you start saving gradually. Every month you put a small amount there until you meet your 20,000. That amount, don't touch it. Until that emergency happens, don't touch it. You know the good thing about it? If grace is sufficient and you don't get into that type of emergency, that becomes a foundation even for your pension fund. You don't need to start pension fund from scratch. You can build on that to now form your pension fund. The last point I will say about having direction is that you need to be intentional about investment. Some of the long-term goals require big money. So you need to be able to build enough investments to be able to undertake some of these critical investments or critical expenditure. So whilst you build your emergency fund, invest that fund in a safe investment vehicle, and as it generates returns, it grows. And as it grows, you will be able to develop further. So I have given you 3 principles in keeping financial control today. It is what we call the AD. Be aware, be disciplined, and have direction. Financial control begins with clarity. And then also, income does not create control. Discipline creates control. Financial control is not about restriction, it is about intentional decisions that you make. I will urge you to maintain financial control, build a budget, build an emergency fund, determine your needs, determine your wants, maintain short-term goals, decide on your long-term goals, keep a strong hold on your finances, and friends, you would have financial liberty. You will live a decent life, and you have financial control. Don't compare yourself with somebody who earns more than you or who are spending more than they have. Remember, discipline is the key word. Stick to your budget, stick to your savings plan, look at your short-term needs, look at the long-term goals. Let me end my presentation with a word from Paul. Paul said, he has learned to live with much and to live with little. That is my personal principle. I am able to adjust in whatever circumstance I find myself. When I have little, I live like that. When I have more, I live like that. I'll urge you to keep a balance. Live today with the principle of add. Be aware of your financial state. Be disciplined with systems, and also ensure that you have direction. In conclusion, I would recommend the mindset of Apostle Paul to you. Brethren, today, learn how to live with many and learn how to live with little. If you do that, you will be a man of content. Contentment is always a great gain, because in this life, today you will have more, tomorrow you will have little. Stay aware, be disciplined, keep in the right direction. And my encouragement to you is that you can surely achieve financial control. A few months to come, we'll come back to this topic and I'll ask you, how well have you achieved your financial control? I urge you all to go back with a strong determination to keep a strong hold on your financial control. Thank you very much for joining us today.